Hey, I'm Daniel, and on this episode of the Filmcraziest Show, I'm talking with the director and lead actress of the Canadian short film Kwêskosîw, She Whistles, where I was able to speak with Thirza Cuthand, the writer, director, and associate producer on the film, as well as the film's lead actress and producer, Sera-Lys McArthur, who plays Stephanie in the film. She Whistles is an Indigenous supernatural thriller, highlighting the missing Indigenous women cases in Canada through a woman who is abducted by a taxi driver and whistles at the Northern Lights. The film is actually playing at two festivals, the Fantasia Film Festival in Canada, where it's playing tonight, August 17th, as part of the Born of Women program. It's also available to watch as part of Outfest L.A. in the United States, with tickets for it available online until tomorrow, August 18th. More info for tickets will be below, and here's Thirza to introduce the podcast.
Hey, my name's Thirza Cuthand, and I'm the writer and director of She Whistles, and you're watching the Filmcraziest Show.
Hi, I'm Sera-Lys McArthur, and I am the producer and lead actor in Kwêskosîw, She Whistles, and you're watching the Filmcraziest Show.
Cool, and I'm Daniel, the host of the Filmcraziest Show. It's great to have you both here to talk about your short film, She Whistles.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
And what's the subtitle for the film?
Oh yeah, it's Kwêskosîw, so it's like Cree in Plains Cree. It means she whistles. Yeah, but it's interesting because there's no like he or she in Plains Cree, so it's like we're saying it means she whistles, but it could mean they whistle or he whistles or yeah. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
A bit of a Cree.
Kwêskosîw.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, I'd love to start with just like, I guess the symbolism of the film, because I've always loved the Northern Lights, but I've never learned about the beliefs with it and just like the mythical powers that you use here. So what was it like incorporating that, Thirza, and exploring that?
Yeah, so basically this project comes from like a larger project where there is sort of this mysterious light in the sky that gives Stephanie her powers, but in the short we decided to make it the Northern Lights. But there's also like all these sort of stories you get told as a child by your elders about how the Northern Lights are gonna, like if you whistle at them, they're gonna like bring down your ancestors who will take you away. And I think the like different Indigenous cultures have different meanings of what the lights will do, but basically they're all like, don't whistle at them, and then of course all these kids whistle and things happen. But
when did you first hear that phrase, that if you whistle at the Northern Lights, the ancestors will take you away? And when did you first hear it, Sera-Lys?
I was probably, it's like when I was really young, so probably about 5 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I heard it like really young too, like about like the time when I started learning how to whistle. They were like, oh, but don't whistle at those, so yeah.
Okay. Now, are you both from Saskatchewan or both from Toronto?
Both from Saskatchewan, actually. Yeah,
we're both from Saskatchewan.
Okay, what was it like setting the short film there?
Well, like I grew up in Saskatchewan, and then I went and spent like a lot of my 30s in Saskatchewan, and there's been this ongoing thing with cab drivers and Indigenous women, where Indigenous women in Saskatoon are posting about like being taken outside the city by cab drivers and having to like really fight to like get out of the situation. And so the story really comes from that, and also from our experiences being in these cabs with these sort of predatory drivers, where things, like the questions they ask you start getting inappropriate, and you like start trying to figure out like what to say to like keep yourself safe. So that's really where it comes from. And but yeah, we shot it in Toronto, which is very much not Saskatchewan, so that was challenging.
Okay.
Yeah, we basically had to shoot around, so we couldn't see the city lights and anything that would show that it was, a giant metropolis, and give us more of that open prairie, desolate feeling. But I think we did pretty well considering.
Yeah, I think that it was shot at night helped. So yeah,
a little bit down at the bottom of the city, like away from all the traffic and whatnot.
Okay. At least there's no obvious CN Tower landmark.
Yeah.
What were some other challenges on the film?
I guess for COVID.
Yeah, exactly. COVID.
Yeah, we shot like at a time when the case counts were really low. So, but we were still trying to figure out how to like do it safely, and we had a COVID medic on set, and all the like PPE that everybody was wearing, and it was kind of okay because we did most of the shooting outside except for like the stuff in the cab, so people were generally like pretty safe.
And now, are you filming when you guys are filming in the cab when it's moving, or is it stationary?
We were actually filming in the cab with it moving. We had a lot of scenarios that kind of fell through as how we were going to do that. And when it came down to it, the most realistic looking is to actually drive. So we had to block off the streets so that there weren't any other traffic, because there's, a camera in the front and a camera on the side. And our lead actor, Aiden Devine, I was so grateful for him, because that was a last minute change. And if he would have said, no, 100%, I don't feel safe about that, I can't do it, then we don't know what we would have done. So I'm really glad that he was able to step up and help us out in that way.
Yeah, he was so great to work with. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, the song that he plays in the film, like on the radio, did that have any special meaning, or was that just a creepy song?
It was the creepy song. We actually had like an idea for like a Canadian song that would be like creepy and like, because it was so innocuous, which I won't say which song, but it was like this innocuous Canadian song, but we couldn't get the rights to that song. So we had to find something that like didn't have all these copyright limits on it. But I think it was a good creepy song. Like, it's kind of the thing you'd find on like the college radio station that some guys just like, yeah, I'm gonna play this because I don't know what else to play.
Yeah, 100%. That was another one of those last minute pivots that had to happen. And sometimes it actually ended up saving us a lot of headache and money probably in the end, because because the song By the Light of the Silvery Moon is over 100 years old, a person can re-record it and then own the rights to that recording without having to go and find the actual publishing rights. So that's what we had. Our composer, his name's Nigel Irwin, and he's also of Cree descent. And he re-recorded By the Light of the Silvery Moon in this kind of like old-timey style, and I think it worked perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it's almost kind of like in the background, so it's like almost like subconsciously creepy more than just like in your face about it. So, which I thought that was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was weird though when we were doing all the editing, because we had to hear that song over and over and over, and I started like walking around like singing that little song.
Me too. I was like, I cannot stop. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Kind of whistling it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe accidentally at nighttime. That would have been scary.
Yeah.
True. Could we talk about the premise of the film, and just for people who are watching and listening who don't really know what it's about? I think we've touched on it, but maybe just if we could again, Thirza or Sera-Lys.
Sure. Yeah. I'll start, and Sera-Lys can jump in. So basically, it's about like this two-spirit like Nehiyah, which means Plains Cree, woman who's she's on her way to her girlfriend's house, and she gets into a cab, and the cab driver basically starts asking these kind of nosy, inappropriate questions, and it starts getting, she realizes she's in trouble, and her phone's dead because she tried to take a picture of the license and it's not working. Because there's this thing when you get into a cab that you're not sure about, sometimes women will like take a picture of the license and text it to their friend. So she wasn't able to do that. The cab driver starts driving her outside of the city.
I think we covered it.
Now, can I ask what two-spirit means?
Yeah, it's kind of like an umbrella term for LGBTQ, like Indigenous queer people. So yeah, so she's, I mean, I guess I always thought of her as like a lesbian, but like a lot of Indigenous people prefer using two-spirit because it's more like an Indigenous focused identity. than like sort of like colonizer identity. Yeah, and I also use the word indigiqueer to refer to her also, because that's also like another term that Indigenous queer people are using to call themselves.
Yeah, and also that's
Okay.
kind of the genre of our film. It's like an indigiqueer supernatural thriller.
Okay. See, I love conversations like these because I don't know these terms and I like learning about them, I suppose.
Yeah.
100%.
And also, just why is this story important to tell now, just with everything that's going on in Canada and has been going on?
I think it's really important. It has been really important to tell for a long time. And now it seems like the world is finally listening to Indigenous issues and plight and identity and experiences. So this is a perfect opportunity to bring this to light. I think that there are other films that are doing well in the circuit that have similar subject matter in certain ways. And this is a fresh perspective on that. And hopefully a really important addition to the conversation.
And it's something we also thought a lot about, like the fact that it's a very traumatic like story, and trying to like tell that story like carefully without like triggering people too much, but also like having this like sort of empowering ending. I think it's something I think a lot about, the fact that we're dealing with like so much trauma in our stories, and we can't really like turn away from that, because that's like an actual thing that's been going on in Indigenous people's lives. And yeah, how do you tell that story carefully and like respectfully?
Okay. So there's always like a thought in your mind, like not to be exploitative in a way.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting because we don't want to be only tied to trauma, and I say we as the Indigenous community at large, but there is so much about our experiences that go back to a type of colonial trauma that might be passed down intergenerationally that we're still dealing with and processing. And so as artists, we find ways to express it so that maybe the wider audience will understand a little more what we're going through.
Okay. And I think it does that. So that's awesome.
And we want it to be entertaining too.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, and she kicks ass, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always the cherry on top.
Yeah.
What are also some conversations that you're hoping to start with the film?
I think, well, Thirza, you can jump in anytime, but I think we just want to make sure we raise awareness about missing and murdered Indigenous people. It's definitely more topical lately, both in the US and Canada and other colonial countries. But we also want to show that it's not just one specific type of person that this happens to, that it doesn't have to be a marginalized individual who may or may not be a sex worker, who may or may not be putting themselves in harm's way for a specific reason. They could just be someone on their way somewhere, and there shouldn't be this sort of automatic assumption of victim blaming.
Yeah, and I think also, yeah, the fact that she's just going about her life, like she's not doing anything like high risk, she's just trying to get to her girlfriend's house, and this guy came across her path, and that's so often how it happens, that women go missing, and we don't know like their stories unless we find out what happens to them.
Train of thought. I think I had noticed a cameo in the film Thirza, with one of your pictures and on the phone.
Yeah, we had because we wanted to get across the point that this like definitely wasn't the first time he's done it, that he's got a pattern of doing this, and then they just were like, well, you should be like in the phone, so you get your cameo in, but also like just to show that like Indigenous women like don't all look the same, like we are very varied, and still like a lighter skinned Indigenous person can still be targeted, like along with like darker skinned Indigenous people. And yeah, and also it's just kind of nice to have your face in your own film, I think.
Very
Okay.
Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Sera-Lys, I'd love to learn how you came on board the project because I know you obviously star in it, but you also produce it as well, right?
Yeah, so Thirza and I met because she has a feature script that this short is actually based on, that she was presenting as part of a screenwriting competition at the Female Eye Film Festival in Toronto. And I was asked by the festival to come and do a reading presentation of one of the scenes or an excerpt from the movie. And Thirza ended up winning that competition. So that was really exciting. But even before that, I was very drawn to her work. I didn't know of her before then. And, she's also from Saskatchewan, just like me. She's Indigenous, just like me. And she was exploring the missing and murdered epidemic in her work, which is something that I had also started to do both in theater and in short films. And I was just beginning my journey as a producer. And I felt like this was the right moment to, step in and offer that I could help get this story brought to light with her. And so since then, we've been in development for the feature. We've been working with Darius Films to develop it for the past few years. And then it came up that Thirza's work, while like super interesting and has garnered a lot of awards and attention, it doesn't really fall into the genre of the script that she had written. So in order to show a work sample for Thirza, we thought it would be best if we created a short film as sort of a calling card for the feature. And so that's when Thirza, myself, and Leah Johnsons from Darius kind of brainstormed and came up with a concept for Kwêskosîw, She Whistles. And then we applied to the Harold Greenberg Fund and were successful.
Oh,
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, and it was such an interesting experience because it was my first time directing like actors in that kind of setting, and it like had like it had like the fight scene, so there's like stunts and there's like driving and there was like fires, we had like pyrotechnics, and so there's all things I'd like never worked with like on a set before, and just like the size of the crew, and yeah, it was really challenging but like also very exciting to do, and like a great learning experience also, I think. And I'm just so happy it turned out the way it did.
Yeah, me too, 100%. Like as a producer, I knew that it was going to be very ambitious, especially this was even before COVID, right? That it was already ambitious and we had not done anything to this size before. And I also didn't anticipate that it was going to be that big, but I guess when you start adding all of those different elements, like the crew size grows and grows. So yeah, we had a lot of, kind of curveballs to take in stride, but I'm really proud of our whole team for pulling through and making a really awesome project.
For sure. Now, it's also it's interesting. It's kind of like reverse engineering from the feature. So what was that like?
Like it's basically like it's a scene from the feature film. So
Okay.
there was always this scene that was going to happen with a cab driver, and that was like the initial part where she like realizes she has this power. So in a way it was like easier to adapt from the feature. We just had to change where this power comes from and how she gets it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was also, yeah, it's just really interesting to see it all, like how we had like the elements from the feature boiled down into this one little segment.
Now the pyrotechnics, this might be a stupid question, but does it have to be green on set or is that done in post?
That's done in post. So yeah, so it's like it's
really?
fire.
We had two. We had special effects practical on the day, and we also had visual effects. So like there's a bit of a combination, but which one were you gonna talk about first or the
Yeah, I was just gonna talk about the actual fire, which was like real fire, but we like got it colored green in post. But there is like the northern lights are not real northern lights. So, and What else did we do in VFX?
Well, we had in VFX, we put the glow in the eyes, and yeah, we had several shots of the Northern Lights, and I'm not sure what else, but we definitely, for special effects, we had flame bars, and then we also had a dummy that we burned, and I think that was the major ones, but we had to turn the fire green in post, so that was a whole kind of experiment as well to see like, will it still work if we just like change the color? And thankfully it did. So that was great.
And we had like a long conversation with like stunt people, because originally I wanted to actually have like a stunt man that was on fire, and they were like, they were telling me all these things like originally I was like, yeah, and then he says this while he's on fire, and they're like, you can't have someone who's on fire be like also talking, that just doesn't work, and all these things. They're like destroying my dreams as I was like all these ideas. And yeah, but it was like really interesting to learn how they do that, even though we didn't do that effect. It was like we just I was told, like what kind of fabric they have to wear, and like how the process works of setting someone on fire. And so maybe in the future we'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think there's a lot of doesn't seem to me that there's a lot of stunt work that goes into short films. So that's pretty cool to have that on set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that part was great. I got to work with a stunt coordinator whom I had worked with before when I was acting in another short film. And her name is Stephanie Hawkins. And I had such a great time working with her because, actors don't always get to do their own stunts or own fight scenes. And I had a great time training with her for that other project. And I also met a couple of other people on that same project. So that one was called Heaven and Earth, A Ritual. And it was directed by Bruno. I can't remember his last name right now. And I also met our COVID care coordinator on there, Marianne Sawchuk, and also our DP, Sarah Thomas Moffat. So it's kind of great to like bring the whole team back together from different projects and then also meet some new people.
Okay. Now you mentioned a COVID care person. So how many set people are there for COVID? I guess one or two?
So there's one specialist, and then you would have some cleaners hired that are in charge of, keeping the areas clean that people will use, like the restrooms. But there's also just everyone has to be conscious and aware of how that works. Like the AD team is very aware of this and keeping everyone safe. So you have a lot of eyes on the floor at the same time. And this is definitely changing, and it's project to project. So most larger projects now have a whole COVID team because they would have even more people on set than we did, and a lot more indoor, like crowds indoor.
Okay. How many people on set did you have usually?
About 40.
Oh, okay. That's feels like a pretty big set for a short, right?
It was really big for a short.
Yeah, and my like experimental shorts before were usually like me and like maybe like an actor on set, so it's like definitely a difference. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was weird because everyone's wearing their mask, and then we were at nighttime, so like we didn't even really get to identify most of the people we were working with unless we had like to interact with them beforehand. So it was a really interesting on-set experience for sure.
Okay. And going from like 2 to 40, Thirza, what was that like adapting for you?
It was intimidating at first, but I mean, I think you just get in the zone and you just like wanna get through it and like get the best like performances possible. And so like, I mean, I think even like, because I did like a shoot before, like that was a documentary shoot where like there was like a camera person and all that kind of thing. And so I was starting to get used to like, because I used to do all my own camera and lights, and then like the first time you go on a set where you're not doing that, you feel really lazy and you're like just sitting around and telling people what to do, and that's a really weird thing to like get used to at first. So I think I'm starting to get used to it, but it's still always weird for me. It makes me feel guilty when I see people setting up lights and I'm not involved, but yeah.
Okay, fair. Now I'd love to ask, what does it mean for you guys just to be premiering at Fantasia and as well as Outfest L.A.?
I think that they're both really high tiered festivals that we had our hopes set on, and it was really awesome that they both happened for us, and they both explore two very strong aspects of this project. Like one is a LGBTQ2S plus focused festival, and the other one is a genre festival. And those were both kind of like, when you combine those two elements together, what makes our project very unique. So I'm really happy that it's going to be getting a voice and some visibility in both of these realms.
Yeah, I think, and it's exciting that it's all happening around the same time too, because it's like they're both screening next week, and we'll see how the press goes about that. Yeah, and I haven't been in Outfest in a really long time, like not since it was more like experimental and like in its early days, and so it's nice to go back to that festival, and this will be the first time I've actually gone to it in person.
Okay.
And Fantasia I've never been in, so that's exciting too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Same here. I'm hoping that I get to do another project that gets to premiere at Fantasia once we're allowed to do things in person. But they have a really great online kind of festival happening where you can use an avatar and like walk around the festival and like have virtual meetings with people where you can use your camera. It's really interesting. So I kind of wish I had a little more time to engage in that right now, but it's really great that they're doing it. And I hope that I'll still be able to check it out in Thirza too.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how all these festivals over the last year have had to pivot to online and how they're like negotiating that.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't tried that yet. The virtual thing. I forget what it's called, but I got the email about it, but I haven't visited yet.
It's worth a try. It's kind of fun. It's almost like a video game film festival. And I gotta say, like at the beginning of the pandemic, when everything was kind of like your life was like fading away into nothingness, one of the things that I missed the most, and I even had dreams about, was film festivals, because they're so electric and there's such a great energy, and it's so exciting to bring you like birth these projects in front of an audience, and like you get to hobnob with other filmmakers and creative types, and I really missed being able to do that, and I wish that I could do it. And so that's part of the reason I'm definitely jumped on board to go down to Outfest for this opportunity, because not very many film festivals are doing in person right now. So definitely excited about that.
Okay. And are you guys going to have a Q&A after the screening?
Yeah. And our screening is on Sunday, so it's coming up right away.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there any nerves to get back to the in-person, or just pure excitement?
I think I was like worried about COVID, but I was reading like Outfest is being really strict with like you have to be vaccinated or present like a negative COVID test to go to their in-person events, and they have like mask mandates, and so I'm feeling pretty confident about it. I'm sure I'll get nerves though when we're like actually in the theater, like about to screen our work. I think also because it's like it is kind of a triggering subject matter, so it's like, how are people going to respond to this? Will they like understand like where we're coming from? And that it's not like being gratuitous, is talking about something that's really going on. I think I have nerves about that, how it will be received.
Yeah, the more she talks about it, the more nervous I'm getting too. I just tend to compartmentalize things and be like, no fear. And then when I get there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm shaking and I don't know why.
All the fear comes to the forefront.
No, I'm really excited, but I am cautiously optimistic about not contracting COVID while we're there. But so I'll just be very careful, and I'm sure we'll be as safe as possible.
Okay. Now, I read on the Fantasia site that it's the international premiere. So has this already had its world premiere?
It did actually, in New Zealand.
Oh, cool.
That's where, New Zealand was its premiere, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's called I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Wairoa Maori Film Festival. And we were just like happy that they wanted to present it, and we thought it would be a great fit for our film to kind of get the ball rolling. And Thirza was also presented with an award. It's called the MANA Award for Advancement of Indigenous Rights.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
That's our second award. We actually had another one. We won the Golden Sheaf.
Oh yeah, I have it right here.
Award. Yeah, there we go. Short fiction award from Yorkton Film Festival.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What did those awards mean to you?
It's nice getting recognition, like especially for like it was such hard work to like do the short, and we put so much energy into it, and like so many people were volunteering their time, including us, well, including me anyway, and it was just yeah, it's just nice to like see, especially like after working on like the feature script for so long, it's nice to see that people are responding to it in like a good way and like getting what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was volunteering / also kind of bankrolling the whole project while we waited for the funds to come in. So, you know, we both definitely like committed a lot into this project, and it took a year basically, to not a whole year, but I guess from conception to the final edit and starting to send it out to festivals for consideration, about a year of a lot of hard work and collaboration. And it's really awesome to get some recognition for that, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, I was just gonna say also the Harold Greenberg Fund is like shutting down. So we were one of the last people to make a film through there. I think they did like one other round after us, but yeah, so it's too bad because it's such a unique opportunity, because a lot of the government funding agencies don't want to do calling card films, and they're like totally like it's made for that. So
Okay.
Yeah, totally. That's it is a bit of a bummer. I really hope that there gets to be a replacement for that, because we wouldn't have been able to do it without their support. And it was also partnered with Crave Bell Media, and so we're grateful for that as well.
Okay, so they're just a fund that does like calling cards and proof of concept?
the Harold Greenberg Fund also funds like script writing development money. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, they used to, now they're actually
Yeah.
True. Okay. I'd also love to ask, like, what were there some favorite reactions out of New Zealand, or did you not hear a lot back?
I didn't hear a lot back. I just know that people I know who saw it really liked it. Yeah.
They said it was really powerful, and that they were really grateful to us for exploring that content.
Okay, cool. Now I'd love to ask, just there's something you said earlier about how Outfest L.A. is a bit experimental, and like, or at least when you were watching it like years ago. So do you guys consider your film experimental at all?
No, not this one. I think it happened, like it was just kind of like a fact about queer film festivals in the 90s, where the work that was being made for like about queer issues was like largely like artist based, because we weren't getting the kind of funding support to like make like more industry films, and over time that's shifted, and now Outfest I think has a lot more industry content. Yeah, I think it was just based on like who gets funded at the time, and queer stories weren't well funded, so it was like experimental artists were making work that was making up most of the queer festival content. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I'd love to ask, do you guys have anything else you want to add? Anything, and we can obviously plug when the premiere dates are for the film.
No, we're just really excited that that both of these festivals are taking a chance and showing this film. And we did really try to make it an exciting viewing experience. It's not just an issues film. It's a drama and a thriller and a supernatural. And so we really hope that audiences will check it out. It's 12 minutes that we really think you won't regret.
Yeah, it's an exciting film. I mean, like once you get once you get over the fear and the triggering stuff, like I think it really builds up to something special. And it was just like the people we got to work with were so great. And yeah, I'm really excited to have people see it finally.
Okay, awesome. And do you remember when it premieres at Fantasia? I think it's August 17th.
August 17th at 9:30 p.m. and then it shows again, I think on the 19th, is it? At
19th at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And that's Eastern time. And so you can go to Fantasia's website and sign up on there. And then you can actually view it live, and we'll be doing a Q&A after that section. So we're in the Born a Woman section of the Fantasia shorts selections. And if you are a part of that live program, you can actually type questions in and the moderator might pose them to the filmmakers. So we're pretty excited to see how that goes down. And then the Outfest one is actually in person in the Surrealness Shorts film program on August 15th at 9:30 p.m. Pacific. And then the following morning, so I guess it'll be at around midnight or 12:30 Pacific a.m. The next day on the 16th, it'll be available in the US on the Outfest platform for 2 days.
Oh, and Fantasia is it's online, but it's geolocked to Canada. So
yes,
geolocked to their certain countries. But yeah.
And we will probably have more international opportunities coming up later in the year.
Okay, excited for people to see the film. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thirza Cuthand, who is the writer, director, and I think you are associate producer on the film.
Yeah. I helped with some of the money stuff. My mom helped. We did a fundraiser.
Yeah, actually, that's awesome. So we used Thirza's mom's artwork as a fundraiser to help with our post funding. And your mom is Ruth Cuthand. She's of Cree descent. Is that correct?
Yeah. And she's also a famous artist in her own right. And we sold prints based off of her beatings. And and she helped us raise $10,000, which paid for our VFX. So it's great.
Yay.
Oh, that's awesome.
It takes a village, as everyone says, but it's super true.
Okay, well, glad to see that the fundraiser paid off, especially in the pyrotechnics and the Northern Lights.
Exactly.
Cool. And so yeah, there's a Cuthand who writes, directs, associate produces, she whistles, and Sera-Lys McArthur, who stars as Stephanie.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, the lead character, and I'm the lead producer and owner of Fanning Feathers Productions.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Cool. So thank you both for chatting with me on the Filmcraziest Show.
Thank you so much for having us. This was awesome. Really in-depth conversation.